From a black base coat, paint all of the armour Lupercal Green. Once this is dry, paint the same areas with Sunz of Horus Green. While this is the colour of the armour from the lore, it is quite a light or quite a transparent colour, so it will take a couple of coats and just make sure to keep them thin. Recess shade all of the armour with a mix of Black Templar and Creed Camo contrast paints. It's about 70-30 Creed Camo to Black Templar. Basically you want a dark green colour and you don't need a huge amount of Black Templar to trim it down. I just found with the Creed Camo alone it just ended up being a bit too kind of a saturated green. This step takes quite a lot of time, but just kind of be careful with any of the shallower recesses, and you can always correct with the Sunz of Horus Green before moving on, and just making sure to pick out all details like in between the fingers and the like, and any of the panelling kind of lines that would separate the armour panels. Paint all the areas that are going to be either black or silver or the brass colour with Abaddon Black. So kind of the entire gun, the shoulder pauldron edges and the metallic areas that are picked out on the armour. Now in some of the pictures the Sunz of Horus seem to have black backpacks or random black panels. Kind of do what you'd like. It's probably easier to do the panels on the shoulders as a black colour just because it's an easier colour to paint than the kind of seafoam green, but whichever you think suits. Paint the edges of the shoulder pauldrons and any of the big rivets on the armour, so in this case on the left knee, with Balthazar Gold. Paint all the silver areas Iron Hand Steel. Shade the brass areas with Agrax Earthshade just to darken down a little bit. And shade all the silver areas using Nuln Oil. Edge highlight the black areas on the gun and the ribbing between the armour plates with Eshin Grey. Where the edge of the brush is usable, go ahead and do it, but again a lot of these details you just need to be careful and work around them. And even on this I kind of overspilled onto the black, and this can always be corrected just with Abaddon Black. paint the rivets and the sharpest corners then with Administratum Grey. I didn't bother with the ribbing between the armour plates with this, but you sure can if you'd like. Probably isn't worth it for troops. Now, probably the longest step of the whole model, edge highlight all of the sharp edges with Dawnstone. It looks like the colouring of the Sons of Horus is kind of peculiar insofar as it doesn't highlight up to a lighter green. I think grey is probably the better colour of it. In this scheme as well, the Sons of Horus green is quite light anyway, so you need to go to kind of a bright grey straight away for it to be noticeable. So the first highlight here is Dawnstone, and as always, where the edge of the brush is usable, go ahead and do that, and that's maybe 10-20% of the armour plates on this model, but just take your time anywhere else. The other, I suppose, advantage is the fact that Dawnstone and Sons of Horus green are both quite bright, so it's actually easy to correct any mistakes. Picked out some of the sharpest corners, so not as many as maybe on the other models that I've done in the series, with Celestra Grey, just to give it an extra emphasis on these regions. Highlight the brass areas with Sycorax Bronze. Edge of the brush is the best way to go about it, particularly on the shoulder pauldrons. And with the rivets on the knee, just to pick out the centre of them with the Sycorax Bronze. Edge highlight all the silver areas with Stormhost Silver. At the eye lenses, I painted the entire socket and kind of recess around with Abaddon Black. Paint the entirety of the lens, except for the deepest recesses, with Mephiston Red. And what I should have done is painted the front half of the lens Evil Sun Scarlet. Completely forgot, so just move straight on to the Fire Dragon Bright, which is the front quarter of the lens. Actually doesn't make a huge difference if you leave out that step. The very front of the lens then with Flash Gitz Yellow. Then paint a single dot of white scar at the back of the lens to complete the effect. And this is the end result. If you like this video, feel free to check out the channel where I have numerous other Horus Heresy and other painting tutorials.